Today, the Grouchy Gardener Homestead is going to have smoked brisket. We're going to start it today anyway. What I'm going to do is backpedal a little to tell you what I've done so far. I did trim my brisket a little bit because there were some really raggedy pieces of very hard fat on here. And having fat on your brisket is fine. You are supposed to have some. I didn't think I needed quite as much as was on there because it's going to stop all the flavor of my rub from getting onto the meat, and it's not going to soak into the meat if there's a full inch of fat there. So I did trim my fat back until I felt there was enough to make the meat still juicy and get a lot of flavor in there. You can flavor your meat however you want. Use a rub, use stuff out of your cupboards, garlic, onion, brown sugar, whatever you think is best for your family. I used a rub, and I like a rub. But what I'm going to tell you next is probably going to make you think that I'm an absolute nutcase. When I make meat, Thanksgiving turkey, prime rib, whatever you think of that might need to be really juicy inside, I take mayonnaise. It doesn't have to be any certain kind, just some generic mayonnaise. After you have all your flavors on there that you want, I want you to try this. You take a little mayonnaise and you're going to rub it all over your meat, and this is your basting. You're going to baste it really good. Now, I've already done it once. You're going to baste it until there's a layer of goo on your meat. You might be asking yourself why you're watching this at this point, but trust me, think of what's in mayonnaise. It's just oil and egg. It's going to lock all the flavor and the juices inside your meat, and it's going to let it slow roast, and then when you put the finishing touches on it, you're going to get a very nice crust on there. I did cut my brisket into two pieces because I'm hoping that I can take one of those pieces, those manageable pieces, and put in a vacuum seal bag and freeze it for another time. And the other one we can just eat. This is what I've done so far. So I trimmed my fat, I seasoned it well, I basted it in mayonnaise, and now I'm going to put it on the smoker. You don't want to see all that because it's going to take several hours. But this is how you get it to that point. I will let you pop in and see what we do once we get it on the smoker. So we're out of the smoker, and I've started with my pan of wood chips, my pan of water. I put the smaller piece of meat on top, away from the heat, because it's not going to take as much to cook it as the larger piece of meat. I'm going to start my smoker. We're going to smoke it real slow. It is going to take hours for this to get done. But when it's done, hopefully I will have a lovely, toasty, mouth-watering, smoked brisket that you are going to want to make yourself. I'll see you then. All right, it's 8 hours later, and my thermometer read 160 degrees. So it was time to remove the brisket, and as you can see, it's nice and toasty and just beautiful. My smaller piece looks like it got done very well. Let's see how tender this is. I shouldn't have kept that a little bit longer. moist. I don't know if you can see that, but there was stuff dripping off my knife. There's liquid that's just dripping out as I cut it. It's very smoky. I want to say definitely, I'm probably going to put these in some au jus and seal them up in vacuum seal bags and freeze them so that I can use them for sandwiches or meals. I would like to have done it for maybe 4 more hours, but it was well after midnight and I kind of ran out of steam. I don't know how you do your brisket, but this was ours and I'm happy with it. Alright, I hope that this video explains some of the answers to questions people have asked me. This is a lot of meat, and there's no way my family's going to eat it in a couple of days, so I am going to store it, some of it for future use. Oh gosh, I don't know if you can see that the juice just kind of gushes out the bottom. It's definitely a lot of meals in this one afternoon of cooking. Although it was 8 hours, it's well worth it. And you can always add barbecue sauce later when you're making sandwiches or whatever you choose to do. But it's a nice way to have a few meals set aside. And how can you go wrong with the brisket? The longer you cook it, the more tender it gets. Alright, and that's how I did my brisket.